welcome to Thursday Nighter, round 4 for the month of August. This is the last and final round for August, and it will determine our winner. Currently, there is no player profile for this month, so we will jump right into the tournament standings and the results from the Roger Hale celebration. In the top section, we had Grandmaster Robbie Kevlashvili winning, to no one's surprise. He finished with 4.5, making a draw with Dane in the last round. I mean, I don't know about Dane, but I would be pretty thrilled with that. Dane also finished second, not surprisingly. He tied in second with Jordan Tim. So congrats to those three. In subsequent sections, we had Yusuf Khan was the player in the, I believe it was the section, the next section down. I think that was the U1900.
Yeah, I think that was the Roger section.
Roger section, thank you, yeah.
Yes.
The Roger section. So he got first in that, and he was followed up by Johan Myberg, a player I'm unfamiliar with, but he also finished with 4.5. So congrats to those two for tying for first at 4.5 apiece. And then in second place, there's a massive tie between Andrew McIntyre, a sometimes player who plays the Thursdays, Ryan Elling, Artie Kanan, Ishan Shah, and Srihan Vaidyanathan. So congrats to those players for finishing at 4 points and tying for second in the Roger section. So I think everyone enjoyed the Roger Hale. We had over 100 people. I think it was a pretty good turnout at the castle. It was, of course, really fun to have Grandmaster Robbie there. I think the people who attended the training camp and the Samo really enjoyed it. I definitely did. So definitely happy to have Robbie there, and hopefully we'll have events like that in the future. For the standings for Thursday Nighter, currently going into tonight, we have Nate Hoover in first, a frequent leaderboard player. He is at a perfect 3-0 score. He is trailed closely by Dane at 2.5, and then tied for third so far are Eddie and Hortalosa. So those are the three guys who can really put up a fight and try to win this Thursday August Nighter. In the lower section, in the open section, we have Kevin Landman and Evan Patchin, both at 2.5, two frequent players. And then we have a whole slew of players on 2 points. That's Thad Swigum, Judson Girton, Terry Humphreys, Jacob Pikus, and Drew Johnson are all at 2. So once again, all of those guys, that's about 7 players, have a chance at least tying for first place in this Thursday August Nighter. And with that, we'll hand it off to OK for the games.
Okay, so I guess we'll start off with we'll get dessert first. How do you like that? We'll start with Robert's game versus SEMA. Both of them play interesting chess, and their game is done, so we can start there. SEMA was white in this game and starts off as a Sicilian, and a line of Sicilian that, you know, almost everything has a name.
I think the question is, does everything deserve a name? That might be the better question.
Exactly. You know, it's just like a wise person once said, not everything needs to go in the recycle bin. And this is an example of, yeah, I'm not sure what F5 is. I guess it has a name. Let me take a look and see. Brussels Gambit. Yeah.
If it didn't have a name, we could call it the Robert Donahue Special.
Yes. So it seems as if it's at this moment, I'm wondering if there's some similarity in spirit to the is that the Latvian, but with C5 instead of E5, it seems like there's a lot of difference. Anyway, we'll see how SEMA handles this. So in actuality, it seems like Robert hasn't done too poorly. I mean, he might need to worry about a2 to g8 being wide open, but okay, he plays his bishop to cover that diagonal. And now Sima has really defend the e5 pawn. Castling by both sides occurs because there's no point in creating unnecessary risk by opening the file while the king is still on e1. Although it's not clear, but after 95, that there's any way for Black to take advantage of things.
I was even thinking, I mean, yeah, I think this is an alternate way to play for sure. I was even thinking you might not even have to play f4. Maybe you can just castle. Because because after knight takes e5 or d8, I mean, black doesn't have any great discoveries that I'm seeing. Because whenever, if their bishop, like, if their light square bishop takes on a2, then we just take on f5, and then we're probably just winning. So I think this is something she could have gone for, but probably just
on here.
Sorry, if they had taken, but yes, they can do this as well. I was saying if bishop takes, yeah, if they do that.
Oh, wait, no, bishop takes knight. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And then, yeah, and then this is just probably better for white, but
yeah, definitely prefer to be white here. So, but she decides discretion is the better part of valor, and allows Robert to defend the pawn, at least temporarily. And now Robert's got all his pieces off the back rank. And okay, so now we have another interesting position. It's not clear white will be able to hold on to the pawn, but in trying to get the pawn back, black is probably going to have to make some sort of concession. And now it's not even clear that black gets the pawn back. That's a very, very important move, queen f3. So basically, I'm going to lose a pawn on e5, but you have to give up d5 in order to get it. And if you take the time to defend, then I get to keep my pawn and the better position. So what is there to say? Robert's in his element. So let's see what happens here. We do this. Okay. So what is the idea besides maybe trying to focus so much energy on h2?
I mean, we also have the ideas of bishop d4 check, and then you're clearing a path for the queen too. So then you're potentially threatening mate ideas, but
true. But I mean, I guess white can give back the exchange and be up a pawn or three.
I think we're also both missing something obvious. After takes e5, we can just also play queen takes d5.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at when I mentioned being down a pawn or three, because after here you capture there. Worst case scenario, we can give back the exchange and still be material up. Okay, maybe it'll be 2 pawns or 1 pawn at the very least. But okay, which is what she does. She does go for
Yeah,
that.
and this is smart because a player of her level should not only never lose this, they should win this, especially after that tactic.
Nice. So, yeah, this is okay. So I guess now the rest of the game is for us to admire Seema's technique in bringing home the point. That's an interesting. So if Rook C3, what's her idea?
You just rook
Oh,
c7.
Rook C7. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
For connected passers ought to do it.
Yep. Yeah. This seems like. Oh, that's abrupt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think not much to say about this game besides, I mean, it's a typical Robert game where he went for something that's entertaining but just not sound. So
Yes. So let's see what. Oh man, are you serious? So Jordan is done, and it's a 10 move game, which is for those not steeped in the history of chess literature, is makes up uh, half the number of moves required to call it a miniature. I think the official number is 20 moves, and below makes it a miniature. Okay, this is scary bad. Let's see what happened.
yikes.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is probably a tough stat to acquire, but if the boss could somehow find the quickest game in Thursday Nighter history,
oh,
I wouldn't be too surprised if 10 moves, this 10 move game might be it.
oh my. Okay, yeah, this is calling it standard doesn't give it the respect it deserves, but this is an idea. I was talking to um, someone about this sort of issue. So, in King's Indian, modern, Pierce, well, I guess maybe not as much modern unless it transposes into Pierce, where there's a knight on f6 and the pawn on d6 and pawn on e7, um, black always has to concern themselves with ideas of this, right? Which is why sometimes you finesse your move order so that your bishop can always keep an eye on the e6 square. Sometimes you kill two birds with one stone by playing bishop g4 early, so the bishop is outside the chain, but still looking back at e6. And so this bishop e2, which one of my friends who used to play the Pierce all the time, would make fun of me because when I play against Pierce, this used to be one of my favorite systems, and says it's one of the most innocuous systems against it. Uh, it might be innocuous, but it was good enough for Karpov, and it was good enough for Karpov. It's good enough for me. This bishop e2. So yes, and so here we have the problem. So knight bd7, and I think black has to swallow their pride here. I don't know if at this moment knight e8 is the only move
Yeah,
to
that's what I was
avoid
looking at.
disaster. Um, but taking the pawn, yeah, that's. And now no matter what he plays, he's in bad shape. But this just, yeah, this is one of those puzzle rush positions, I guess.
Yeah.
The knight on g4 is hanging. There's a fork against queen, rook, and bishop, waiting on e6. Yeah, this is just nastiness. And say if knight f6 were to happen, we can just snip that guy off. Thank you.
Tough one.
So yeah, that's a tough one for Tom, Mr. Babcock.
That's a good trick to know, so be wary.
Yes, I suspect because I don't I suspect, you know how it happens where sometimes you start a game and you're shunting out moves, but your engine isn't warm yet. You haven't actually started calculating stuff, so you just kind of, I don't know, how should I say, moonwalk into a really bad situation without realizing how you got there. So, I think that's what happened to NM Babcock there. So, okay, let's take a look at the tournament leader versus the guy who's trying to unseat him. Because Zegar's close, right?
Yeah, Zagar's in second.
Okay, so let's see how this goes. So Dane Zegar's white, so no extra points given for guessing the first move. You get any number of points for trying to guess what Nate is going to play. I think he's a... Okay, this is... So I know that he likes early e5 lines. And so... but I don't know if he particularly likes the Budapest. I know the Alban is one of his favorite systems to play. And now we have a weird hybrid thing that might become bishop f4 against the King's Indian defense. Yeah, this is an atypical King's Indian.
I don't play this knight f3. I play the same-ish, but is bishop h6 still an idea before they play rook e8? Are you familiar with these positions?
Well, not this position specifically, but yes, bishop h6 can be considered around here, which is probably why Nate played rook e8, so that he has the option of going back to h8 if he plays bishop h6 now. So this is probably, I don't know if they've played this position before. I know Dane is more of a, if you go straight with a normal King's Indian defense move order, then Dane is one of the regional experts in the bayonet attack against the King's Indian. But I guess now he's making things up as he goes along and doing a decent job of it, it appears. So, all right. The battle lines are drawn. Oh, this looks familiar, doesn't it? Now, it's a different position, though.
Yeah.
And there is a fork on f2 that Dane has to factor into his calculations. But okay, at the moment, Nate has to figure out what he's doing about the attack on his knight on d7. And so he captures. So bishop d3, attacking the pawn on g6, while also defending the pawn on f2. Knight f8, defending the pawn on g6 and overprotecting e6. Queen c2, e5. Yeah, it's getting spicy really, really quick here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure That
I don't like what Dane's done. I feel like,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, you definitely can't allow knight takes f2. I just think bishop g3, and I think white still has maybe even an advantageous position. He's down a pawn, but black has weaknesses everywhere. E5 is a target. G6 is a target. Black's king is a little weaker. But yeah, bishop d2. I mean, you're looking at the queen, but first of all, knight takes f2 comes in, so I don't know.
yeah. I mean, one would imagine, well, knowing the way Dane plays, that he must have spent quite some time calculating this. Let's see. So pawn takes
Oh, I wonder if he
14
somehow
minutes.
thought. Yeah, I wonder if he somehow thought that after bishop d2 and knight takes f2, there was knight e4 attacking the queen and the knight, but maybe he missed knight takes d3. I don't know.
Yes, that's what I'm wondering, because actually it's funny. I had seen that line earlier, the knight e4 and then knight d3. I said, oh yeah, it's a nothing burger, and that might have been it, or he might have um, assessed his attack against the hanging rook on e8 as being enough to dissuade black from going into the line, because as the game went, this happens. And so the rook on e8 is completely unprotected. And so maybe he thought that this would be enough for him to gain an edge. This is all kinds of nuts.
Yeah,
Oh, so if bishop, what happens after bishop
yeah, that's a good
here?
question.
Well, I suppose he still has.
I mean, yeah,
Oh, he still has knight here.
you kind of.
Maybe. And if he tries this, then there's this.
And the material count is we're down 2 pawns, but we're better developed, and Black's king is weak,
Open.
but but black is also threatening to exchange queens, so
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
I
not
think black can
trivial.
hold this. Especially, he's threatening, like I said, queen a1. He's also threatening bishop d7 or bishop e6 or bishop g4. So if this position would have happened, I think black is definitely
Yeah.
better.
Yes. So Dade plays here, but that also means the queen can run back to defend the rook, maybe, although that might not be desirable. Let's see. Because at the moment he has rook and pawn for knight. Nate plays queen takes.
I don't understand this game at all, to be honest. To me, this is like one big DGT error. I don't know. I don't understand.
Oh, I think I get it now. So if Dane goes bishop takes, then you queen check. This is forced. And then you bishop check, and then pick that guy up.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, that's a
Oh,
good idea, but hmm.
Nate's a tricky one. Well, okay. Actually, it's funny because Dane is also a tricky one. So we have two tactical tricksters up against each other.
Yeah.
But which might explain why Dane played bishop c3 to give his king that square. But then I suppose that lets the rook escape with its life, unless I'm missing something. Maybe it is some big DGT error. Because yeah, after what happens after here?
Yeah, the problem I keep seeing is black can exchange queens, and he just really wants to do that. He's up so much material.
Yes. Well, I mean, this helps with the queen exchange idea while keeping the rook um, relatively safe, right? Unless the queen has some way of escaping. And I guess the queen could escape to e2 or f2. So maybe maybe he should just check right now. Yeah. Check right now.
Yeah.
Um, and then if here, which is now you check with tempo, and white doesn't seem to have enough.
And I, hmm, yeah, very tactical game.
Yes, no, it's not like trivial, but I think after wherever the king goes to, say king goes here. Well, if king goes here, this seems like it'll be kind of rotten. If king goes here, it looks a bit exposed after bishop here.
Yeah, the more I
Um,
look at it, I do like our initial move the best. Just rook d8. I mean, queen a1, king d2. The king's escaping. I just want to trade material, and I don't see
yeah.
how sorry, white can avoid the queen trade after rook d8. So
Well, he could try moving the queen away. So maybe queen e2. So he
true.
could,
Well,
but
yeah,
oh, that leaves this guy hanging. Okay, that's
yeah,
garbage.
the bishop on g6. So
Yeah, that's garbage. Because yeah, after this, he still has to come back home to give his final greetings to the king. No, okay, so this is where we are now, and Nate is figuring out what he's going to play, or well, either that or he's busy dealing with his second game. Because I'm going to make the difficult assumption he's playing a simul again. Do you know whether Nate's playing two games? So let's see. Okay, so let's check board two. We've got Eddie versus Andy. Okay. Accelerated Dragon.
hmm,
That's an interesting move. Um,
queen d7.
yeah, I suppose he just wants to bring the other rook to the B file or C file, one of the two.
I
But I
think
wonder
queen
if Queen
d7's
B6.
yeah, I think queen d7's an instructive move because queen b6 seems a little might seem initially a little bit more active because you're still defending c6 and your queen's a bit more active. But
Mhm,
then your knight, your knight eventually wants to get to c4, and then you're taking away
mhm.
a possible route to get there.
Yeah,
Because usually in chess you want to ask, okay, where can my pieces be placed the best on the entire board, and just anywhere. And black's knight, it'll take a while, but if you could put it on c4, it'd be kind of nice.
so yeah, that's probably what motivated his decision. And so I think the position is Rook H8. I'm trying to work that one out. So is he planning to play King G8 and then leave the rook on H8? Well, I suppose that answers that question. So what is his idea? Is he going to play G5 and H, or is he going to play maybe F6 at some point? And how does the rook on H8 help with his plans?
My gut instinct tells me that none of these lines are going to be advantageous to have the rook on h8.
Well, he's playing H5 right now, so I suppose he's hoping for GH5. Oh, well, I guess now the rook has the possibility of a half open file, and now it's making some sense. So the big idea, it appears, is trying to remove the g4 pawn so the knight can get to f5 and help with a possible kingside attack versus put some pressure on d4. So this maneuver allows h5 to happen without necessarily ruining the structure. And if black is given a chance, he might be able to open the h file disadvantage. But then it looks to me that the way black's pieces are, and because of that pawn on e5, if he does succeed in opening the h file, it could be to white's advantage because he'll be able to more easily bring his pieces over there. Having said that, I think I'm talking garbage because there's no way. Let me see. So black would have to play h takes g in order to open up the h file, and then his pieces are kind of stuck. So, all right, we'll see who blinks first here. Well, that's an interesting positional move, threatening to wind up with a. Okay, this one needs explanation.
I think white's just crushing here.
Yeah.
I kind of liked a couple moves back. I kind of liked black trying to play bishop h6 because I was exactly worried about this exact thing. I was worried about bishop g5 and bishop e7 exchanging the bishop for the knight because then c6 is all the more weak.
Yeah.
But if we play bishop h6 right here, then g5
wait,
comes.
let me see. So we got
maybe
here,
a couple
here.
moves. Yeah, here and then
So
after
mean here. So bishop h6 right now.
No, I was thinking once white played rook ec1 because then it's more forced.
Oh, because the rook's on the c.
Yeah.
Okay, so here.
I mean, you're you're making your rook even worse, but at least you're stopping one of white's plans.
Yeah, that rook seems like by the time this is all said and done. But actually, the position is closed enough. I don't see any major levers. I mean, if white were to play bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop, it seems as if there may not be. There's no way to force open the c file, for example. And so black might have. So yeah, bishop h6 looks interesting. And yeah, now black is in trouble, I think, because if there's no way to comfortably reposition the knight, and if he allows bishop takes knight, then in this position, white's knight seems to have more potential than the black bishop. And this seems like a well-timed pawn thrust to b5. So black tries to have chances of counterplay alive by playing, by exchanging off on g4 with a open h file, but the rook on its own isn't going to win the world war. Oh, ouch. So,
That's a pretty move. I don't know if it's good or not, but it looks pretty.
Yeah. it seems like Okay, this is worthy of analysis. Rook there. That looks like an error. Just snap, it just looks like an error. Because rook c8 seems possible, which, okay, that's what was played. But rook c8 seems like it's threatening mate in one. Or, yeah, rook c8 and then bishop f6. So,
You want to show that for the viewers? That's a pretty checkmate.
yeah, so rook c8, and then if take there, then here, spite, and here, and c'est fini.
Very pretty.
And
I wonder, is there a name
very
for that?
pretty.
Is there a name for that checkmate?
Uh, I don't know if there's a name for that one in particular. I mean, it sort of reminds you, there probably is, because it's spiritually similar to, if the bishop's on f6 and the rook was on d8. That's like a common form of this same checkmate. But when you do it with a discovery, I don't know if it has its own name. But yeah, that's Eddie's master plan. So yeah, rook b2 seems like it's not working. Now, in this position, Andy has a hard job in front of him, a really hard job. Because if he plays, so rook c8 is played. Let me see if it allows me to go to the end of the game.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so the game is over. That's why it got stuck. So this actually happened in the game. It was rook c6, rook b2, rook takes, and then the king tries to scamper away, and then bishop happens anyway. And oh, by the way, that H file you opened, thank you very much. Um, bang. Oh, okay. This is game of the week so far. This is nice. So you recognize this theme at this moment here.
Oh yeah.
So if Andy had responded with queen takes queen, then rook takes, check, and king up here, or if he decides to die with a full belly and takes the rook, then this is checkmate again. So very nice sequence by Eddie. Let's go back. So this was, and it was kind of set up by this and the pressure on the e7 knight, and I suppose the king trying to come to the rescue of the knight was what put it into this vise, where it's now too exposed. So then that happens.
I mean, wouldn't you have loved your rook on c8 a couple moves ago?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And Bishop.
I do pity Andy a little bit though. Maybe pity isn't the word, but because it was a tough position for him to play because Eddie just got a good position out of the opening where he had more space. And when you feel cramped, you feel like you need to do something. And I've felt
Yes.
this way many times. And I think Andy probably had the same sentiment where, okay, I have less space. I want to formulate some plan, but unfortunately, it probably was just a bad plan. So, like, I understand why he did it. It probably just wasn't very good.
Yeah. Yes. I think it was more of a judgment issue than a calculation issue. And then once he got to, I suppose, this position, and if you think about it, this whole idea of I think the idea of rook h8, king g8, h5. Yeah, if that rook here, there, if that rook on c8 had stayed on c8, I think its life would have been much more fulfilling. Um, it's just, uh, yeah. Then let if White wants to do something on the king side, let him do that. But
Because the
it
position is
seems,
kind of locked. So I don't know if he would have just kept the status quo and kept his pieces in kind of this state. I don't know how
Mhm.
Eddie can break through just on a brief look.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he has a solid enough position. Maybe in some moment he can look to play for a5 to try and open things on the queen side, but that's not a priority at the moment. And if he doesn't play h5, he doesn't give up the g5 square. And that's the thing that was also not obviously apparent probably to Andy was that by playing h5, g5 is weaker, allowing both the knight and the bishop, the enemy white knight and bishop, to get there, and how strong the idea of exchanging off the bishop for the knight was going to be. But okay, let's not beat Andy up too much, but still revel in the beauty of the concept. Maybe this is the last chance. Maybe he just needs to. But actually, the position is so strong for White that even saying, okay, I submit to losing the exchange probably isn't enough to satisfy White here. Because the pawn on c6 is probably going to go. And so maybe, yeah, they can't play c takes b5 because of rook c8. So yeah, so this is tough. If he plays 97 here, which okay, I guess there's no knight b6 because of this. And if he plays 97, then there's this. And if he plays here, then queen takes. And if he plays here, then rook check. This is just harsh. All right. Let's see. Where are we going to next? Okay, Kevin. Now, Kevin, did Kevin play this weekend or last weekend at the Hale?
He did not.
Okay. Um, let's see what we have here. So we have a Nimzo, Rubinstein, and my favorite, 4b6. Aha. This is a tricky line, this f3 thing. So it's like we're heading towards a Rubinstein variation, but not exactly, because I'm still keeping the right to go into a same-ish approach against the Nimzo with f3. So the more normal same-ish and say this happens, and then f3, you play e4, and basically White is saying, I'm so happy with the space advantage I'm going to get. I'm willing to spend the tempo to damage my queenside pawn structure, and maybe even give you that c pawn, which you so covet. But I'm going to, by the time you're trying to digest the pawn, your king is going to be singing a different tune. Is kind of the general theme that White has. And so this way, after b6, I've had to deal with this on the black side a couple of times, and then f3. And so now black has to figure how he wants to marshal his pieces, because one wrong step and White's position is flexible enough that he can change plans, and then black is wrong-footed. So we'll see how this happens. So Evan takes the knight without being prompted and is setting out for a dark square strategy. which is the correct approach, I think. Uh, Often enough, Black doesn't want to attack the center with this in these kind of positions, just because after here, this guy is going to have a harder time getting back to life. Now, okay, this might be a bit different because of the double C pawns and the fact that the knight might be able to sit on C5, but it's still going to be a bit difficult to get the light square bishop into the game. It's harder to attack white center. So C5 happens, and now D5 gives Black a number of opportunities to change the pawn structure. So bishop G5 happens, and now E5, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't really like E5.
Yeah, E5 seems a bit too. So the position now is looking like what do they call this? The Leningrad variation against the Nimzo, which is where there's an early G5. So here, and bishop G5. And oftentimes there'll be like an H6, G5, maybe even knight 4, F5. But in those lines, Black isn't committed to casting queens, isn't committed to casting kingside, and might just walk his king over here or castle queenside and then hang out on B7 or something. The game position is quite different because Black is already committed to the king side, and so the H6 G5 might turn out to be hooks for White's attack. So White is able to derive play on both sides of the board.
Yeah, that was why I didn't like E5, because you're just closing the position. You're not giving yourself any chance to break anything open, and white can play on both flanks.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a good example of why you have to seriously contemplate what you're doing when you close the center in positions like this, especially when you're the one with the space disadvantage and no viable pawn breaks to speak of. Maybe Black could have tried for an A6 B5, but it seems like he'd be behind in that race as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little surprised that he didn't, Kevin, that is, didn't open up the king side sooner. Like he played knight G3 and then routed it to knight F5, which looks really natural, but I wonder if, I'm not sure, but maybe you have to be more quick. Maybe you just have to play H4. H4, maybe even G4, I don't know.
Well, so this is the situation. So we're here, right? And A4 is played, and Black decides not to prevent A5. So the way, okay, I can't pretend to know exactly what Kevin was thinking, but the way I look at this position, I could play for H4, try and open things up on the king side, but there isn't. Black actually has a number of pieces around his king, pieces and pawns, right? He allowed me to play A5. If he allows me to open up on the queen side, the piece configuration on the queen side might be a bit better for me than trying to ram my head against White's king side.
Yeah. Yeah, no, A5 makes a lot of sense. I was talking about a bit earlier to play, not here, but a bit earlier before he moved his knight a couple times to play H4. Um,
So at what moment?
a couple more moves. Yeah, once his bishop was on F2,
Mm-hmm.
and like right here even, just play H4 perhaps. It might not be great, but before you play knight G3 and knight F5, and before you let black get knight G6 in, maybe you could
Mm-hmm.
try this.
So let's see.
Maybe black can just play G5 then, but G4.
Yeah, I think like black can play here. There's also, I suppose, knight H7. One of the knights to H7 might also be a possibility.
After G4, maybe you can go F4. And you are giving potentially black the E5 square again, but we're opening up the F file if he does that.
So yeah, so maybe we play knight here and try and keep the position somewhat closed
And then we probably have to
until
take.
so take.
Yeah. Oh, it takes with the pawn. Interesting. It takes with the pawn. I like takes with the pawn for white. I feel like the H file is going to help us a bit. Maybe black can still hold though, because maybe it's just closed enough. But I feel like white can be the only one to open things up more. He can still sometimes perhaps play G3 F4 if he wants to be very ambitious.
G3. Hmm.
Maybe just yeah, or knight G6. Then maybe king G2.
Yeah, king G2 seems to be
I think
seems to
this
be
is
working.
another way to play for white. I could be wrong, but it's two ways to play. He took the route
Mm-hmm.
of kind of just playing a more slow game, where this is more
Mm-hmm.
concrete and tactical. So it's up to him.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like a valid way to play. Um, I think that yes, I think it's a matter of stuff that at the end of the day, black is going to suffer whatever he plays, and in some way, maybe the threat because white's pieces aren't really ready for the attack. Maybe the threat of H4 ends up being stronger than the execution until he's actually ready to play it. Because white has to still move his pieces around, I think, to make H4 really strong. But then I could be wrong too. And then of course, Kevin went into this understanding that his threat of winning back his pawn on A5 would be so strong that Evan might drop his rook. So you have to figure that into the calculation. Um, okay, I'm just being facetious. This is actually pretty interesting. So maybe this is all, maybe Evan actually planned this out, but it seems as if he's not getting enough for his troubles.
Right. I looked away for a second, and chaos happened.
Oh, yeah. So what happens was this happens, and Black is trying to get counterplay. So he gives up his rook, um, but he's doing some tactics, and I think he had foreseen he'd get a mating attack out of this. Unfortunately, um,
I admire people like this. I just don't have the guts, but I admire it.
uh, huh?
I said I admire people like this. I don't have the guts to do this, but I kind of admire it.
Okay. Yeah, this is, and at this moment, Black is literally uh, doing the I'm tossing the kitchen sink at you routine. And this can get really scary. um, it requires concrete calculation on White's part, but it turns out that Kevin's up to the challenge, and very calmly, it's almost a joy, very calmly beating back every attempt that Black is coming at him with. And so I think at this point, Evan had seen enough because, well, for one, he's basically run out of wood to toss on the fire, and White's king is very safe. So this is actually an interesting. I almost feel like going over it again because there are interesting moments in terms of defensive technique that Kevin applied here. And maybe one of the most important ones is, okay, you've got a huge material advantage, but you don't need to keep all of it in order to win. And let's focus on defending the most important weak points in our position. And so bishop e2, defending the f3 square. And you need to calculate that after pawn takes knight, that you have time to scoot off the g file to allow rook g1. Otherwise, queen g6 and queen g2 mate were possibilities. Okay. White can play bishop g3 at some point, but it'll get unnecessarily messy. And then h5, trying to bring in the reserves, like knight h6. Rook in, which happens to be threatening that knight. And then knight h6, and then just remove all of the invaders. Butov, as a famous grandmaster once told a server somewhere in Superior, Wisconsin. And so take, and the end of your meddling with rook g4. Yeah, this is a nice mix of attack and defense, I think. Attacking on the queen side, and then but yes, so getting back to the question of whether White should have been more active on the king side. So after here, h4, I think it's possible. I don't know. I don't know that I might be tempted to try this approach, but it just seems like it's giving Black unnecessary play. And he can't prevent me from playing h4 if I really, really want to, but maybe I do it when I'm better prepared. But then again, it's a style thing.
Yeah, the more I look at it too, maybe just takes h4, bishop takes h4, knight g6, bishop f2, and knight h5. And black, like you said, Black's starting to get a little bit of play. So, yeah, I think Kevin just played a really clean game. He was patient. He kind of, I'm guessing he saw that h4 line, but thought Black was getting too active. But big congratulations to him. He is your Thursday Nighter Open August winner.
Oh, really? Okay, good for him.
Yeah, he was tied with Evan going into this round. So.
Oh, I didn't realize. Maybe I didn't pay attention to the early announcements. Yikes! So this game had a lot riding on it then.
Yeah.
From that point of view. Okay.
But yeah, Kevin's a regular. I wouldn't be surprised if he's won like 15 of these. Probably more.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like he's been playing these Thursday Nighters for a long time.
Cool. Yeah, I'm still a bit tickled by my favorite move from last week, Evan's a6 pawn breakthrough move. So, okay, let's see what happens here. So we have Jacob against Thad Swigum, which is ongoing. Well, before we get there, let's take a look at this completed game. Oh, and then maybe we'll go back to see what's happening with Dane and Nate. So, okay. Nainika Tutica versus Angela Lee. Slav. And now we're in the semi-Slav. Okay, so more quiet maneuvering type of game. Interesting. Yeah, this is an interesting approach by both players actually. Um,
It's getting scary.
yeah, it's getting kind of hectic. So
F5's a good move.
yes, F5 looks like it was a well-timed.
Probably an only move.
Yeah, I wonder if I wonder if D5 is possible here.
I thought you'd be looking at that, yeah.
D5, E6, and that kind of business, or D5, Rook H6, and then E6. Actually, yeah, that would be so. If here, then say hello. So don't. I mean, obviously, Black isn't forced to play bad moves, but it's an interesting, it's an interesting idea. I think. Um,
Yeah, no, we can look at that a second longer. What does Black do if after D5?
yes, it's not clear because I think he can. I mean, he's potentially activating the bishop and potentially getting a pass pawn on d6, just increasing Black's misery. Okay, he's also making his c4 pawn a bit more vulnerable, but that might not be an issue if he's able to get some kingside action going.
Yeah,
Um,
those are my thoughts exactly. I mean, even if this doesn't, obviously, like you said, Black's not forced to play bad moves, but at very least, White's probably just going to get their pawn to D6, where it's obviously better than D4. So
yeah,
this was a nice find and probably just White's best move, or at least preferable to what he played. Or,
yeah, because EF6 seems like it's um, getting Black a lot of what they'd like. Half open F file, the diagonal onto G2 is looking good. Of course, he has to be careful because White still has guns trained at his kingside, but I'm liking Angela's position right now, and I like it even more right now. So does he have to give up the queen for 2 rooks? I suppose that holds for the moment.
whoa, wait. What about Queen G6? Am I missing something?
Um,
Oh, but then there's, yeah, just rook takes. Whoops. Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. So hence there, and now it appears Black is still not out of the woods though. 'Cause those bishops are looking looking like they have less than holy intentions, if you know. What I mean, it's like, how does Angela deal with this? So knight c4.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, this is not
Scary.
trivial.
No, I. How does I mean, black hold?
That's a good question. Um, oh, okay.
I mean, it's
We don't
holding.
need no stinking. We don't need no stinking exchange. Um, oh man, this is going to be an interesting game. So bishop takes, pawn takes.
I'm going to be greedy. I wonder if we can somehow play g4 instead of taking the rook.
So g4. But then there's this, right?
And then, yeah, and then d4 is hanging. So maybe not. You're right.
Yeah. So maybe um, Nainika looked at that and came to the conclusion it was too slow,
Yeah.
potentially. So bishop b2, c3, sorry, and now why is rook h6 not working?
It is. That's beautiful.
I wonder if maybe there's something we're missing. Maybe if rook takes, can the king come here, and is that good enough?
Yeah, but white's
Uh,
still completely winning here. I mean, rook h7, right?
yeah. Rook h7, d5. I suppose black could play. Oh no, queen d5 isn't working because of queen e8. So yeah, so this seems like it would be. In fact, is maybe we
Well,
play d5 to start,
yeah.
just to um
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think it matters too much because after rook h7, black can't play either queen c6 or queen d5 because there's just mate on
yes,
g7. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just in order to keep the knight from harassing the bishop and keep or allowing bishop d5 blocking. So if we had played rook h7, sorry, rook h6, king here, and then bishop here. Wait, rook h7 and then bishop here, keeping the bishop out of the attack. That's why I'm wondering whether it would be better instead of rook h7 to play d5, and um, now g7 is dead to the world.
Yes, that's yeah. No, I like this. Yeah.
So, all right. So that was a bit of a miss by Nanika. Rook e3, and now black is able to consolidate. He tries d5, which has a significant threat. Hmm. Okay, let's see what happens here. This is not a trivial ending. So, rook and 3 pawns against bishop and 4 pawns, but um, black has a potential pass pawn on the king side and has 2 connected pawns on the queen side. So, what's going to happen next? That is not what should have happened next, I don't think. Um, I suppose the idea is to make sure that at least the a pawn goes, but is it possible?
Yeah, probably the smoothest way to draw this is just rook c7,
Yeah,
a5, rook a7, and just say, what are you doing? I mean, neither side can
exactly.
really win this, I would assume.
Yeah,
White's
and
yeah,
white actually could be ambitious and play g3, king f2, and try and mark the king up. So
yeah.
white actually, if anyone has winning chances, it might be white.
And it's gonna force black maybe to play like bishop d5, force white to push his pawn. And at
Mm-hmm.
least give black's king some wiggle room, or potentially there's lines where maybe black could use his own bishop to shield the rook to win
Yes,
the e pawn, and then
yes.
that's probably the line.
The survival plan for black
Yeah,
in that line. Okay. So yeah, but but e7 seems a bit too compliant. It is sort of positions you want to try and create as many problems for your opponents as possible. And um,
and look how active we made the black king compared to the other line.
yes, yes. Yeah, the king was, at least from an attacking point of view, a liability a few moves ago, and now is one of the stronger pieces on the board.
I mean, if I remember
And now,
correctly,
yeah,
if I remember correctly, the three most important things in endgames are king safety, piece activity, and pass pawns. And if white would have gone for the line we were talking about, well, the king safety, I mean the piece activity, which king counts as a piece in the endgame, he was
yes,
very limited. So, and also you can qualify the rook as being a very active piece. But now in this line, the king is very active and the rook's not doing as much. So yeah, it's just you got to remember the endgame principles.
yes, yeah. Now I definitely prefer to be Angela in this position, because she can always, well, most likely be able to sack her bishop for the pawn. Although this is actually okay. This still takes some doing, though.
It does, yeah.
This still takes some doing. Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I. Why aren't you pushing?
So you were just talking about the active rook, and okay, this is a first of all, one of the principles in these endgames where the rook is trying to trail an enemy pawn is you, as much as possible, want to put the rook behind the enemy passed pawn. And so, just on that basis, if you have a choice, you don't want to play rook to this first rank here and defend against it that way, waiting for it to come down, especially when you know that the bishop is controlling the queening square here. So, but even before we get down there, because it's taking one, 2, 3 moves, before we do that, you ask the bishop to state its intentions in life. Is it willing to give up its life for a cause, even if the cause is moribund anyway? But you have to ask the bishop that question. Force him to do that. And now it's possible this could still be drawn just because the black king is so far advanced, but you ask black to prove it.
Yeah.
Now this might be the time to bring your rook maybe all the way down here so your king can come capture this pawn. But if you look deeper into the position, it's likely that the king might be able to come over to the queen side fast enough to stop this, and then white is able to hold both pawns and then win them one by one. But none of that happens until after you play h7.
Yeah, I think we should give this a moment of silence just to calculate. Because
Okay.
this is interesting because I haven't calculated to the end yet. I don't know if you have, but I'm just curious
No,
if
I
this is
haven't.
winning. I'm just curious if this is winning or not for white after bishop takes, rook takes.
Okay, let's take a look at that. So um so what should black be thinking?
I was
Um
looking at king c4 for starters.
okay. So king c4, and then
I was looking at king e1 or king e2. Yeah,
king e2. And the reason I'm choosing king e2 is, of course, I want to try and slide my king over here or here.
yeah.
Um, and also use the king to body the enemy king. So if he plays here, then maybe
I don't think. Yeah, I
we
don't
have
think rook c7 is
this.
called for it. I think we can just go king d2.
Um, there might be an advantage to playing rook c7 first.
Really? Hmm.
Actually,
I think
no. We're just
I
so
think
yeah,
this
just
line is
play
just
here.
winning for white. Yeah, just king
Yeah,
d2
yeah,
and
yeah.
we're
Just go
winning.
here.
But I think the initial line, I'm not seeing a clear win for white. It might still be a draw.
So you're looking at king c4,
King
king
e2,
e2.
probably king c3.
Okay, so king c3, and
We probably have to play king d1 if we want to try to win. Or maybe we could try rook c7. Rook c7, king b2, king d2, b3.
how about rook here? And now black's in a bit of a pickle. I think this controls the important squares. Because if he tries for king a2, so if he plays king a2, we play here, and he's lost.
So what
And
if b3?
king here is here. And so if he plays b3, now
Ah, rook h1.
we
Yes,
play
yes,
here.
yes. Ah, so this is winning. Ah, see, this is good. Yeah, it's pretty. It's good endgame technique. Yeah, yeah.
And now, of course, if he plays king a3, now I have this. It comes here. And yeah, I think I'll play here. And now we have enough time to capture that guy and still arrest the f pawn.
We could
Uh,
probably be funny and even play rook h8, but knight promotion and it gets messy. Or does it?
it does get a bit messy, um, and not in the Lionel way either. So I think this endgame is likely winning. At least it's difficult for black to hold if at all possible.
Yeah.
And so rook. Yeah, this is what caused this. I think this is what caused um, the L here was this rook move. This time is important in most phases of the game, and this rook is now actually very badly placed to defend against the pawn, and the check just allows the king to get in. Now, this is kind of cute by Angela, understanding that she can afford to allow the fork on d4 because then she promotes the next move. So if rook here and king here, and there's no stopping this guy from promoting. And it just so happens that the bishop is perfectly placed to help with the pawn promotion and keep this guy in check. So after here, she takes king f3, and now it's actually tricky. So I'm actually very curious to see how she forced a win here, because if white
Yeah.
takes the f pawn, okay. Oh, nice,
Yeah, nice.
very nice. So she's going to use the bishop to shield the b1 square. Very nice.
And the
And
term
there's nothing.
and the
Yep.
term shield is so fitting because that bishop on e4 was a wooden shield, as Hikaru would say.
Yes. Yes.
I know I've said that before, but the terminology is just too good to not use.
Yes. Oh man, this is sweet. Oh, pain. Okay, so the hope now is that a stalemate might be salvation, but Angela seems to know her stuff here. Bye bye. All
Wow.
right. So that was a good one by Angela. Let's see, we've got a couple more games going. Okay, yeah, this position was looking kind of dangerous for Dane. So let's see what happened. Let's go back. I believe we left around here.
Yes. Right after rook d. Well, he was thinking about rook d8, we presume.
Yeah, so he played bishop c3 to give the king the square, and that's where we were wondering if rook d8 or queen check immediately would be better. And he went for rook d8.
Yeah.
And so queen e4 happens, which oh, okay. Making sure he has nothing, I suppose.
I can kind of miss that the bishop can just be taken.
It's like no soup for you. Ouch. Okay. So g3, queen g4. Oh,
And now Black's bishop finally decides to wake up. Oh, or not. I thought he might just play bishop f5. That
f5.
might
Yeah,
have.
yeah. That's what I thought too. But now he's not giving him anything. It's like you will not have us. Not even a spite check. Well, I guess queen h5 is doable, but which is what Dane goes for. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would have taken bishop f5 myself, but okay. He's not getting mated. He needs to do some fancy footwork though to make it work. Oh, queen b1 checkmate is a threat.
Yeah.
Which is why knight c2 happens. And Nate is trying to be as mean as possible, it looks like.
Definitely. Oh, just take the queen, Nate. Come on, you're up a rook, a bishop, and 2 pawns for 2 knights.
I think no, there is I think this might be Nate trying to get back for Dane punishing him a couple of times in previous games. This might be his attempt to say, I can beat you when I want to, type of thing. because they've played interesting games against each other, and I think Dane has had the upper hand recently. So this might be his way of saying you're helpless. I'm not even going to take you out of your misery until I feel like it. So, all right, well, we still have two more games. We haven't looked at. I don't think we. I think we did. We start looking at this and then
I don't
move
believe we
on.
even started this one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
we
look
quickly
like it.
went. Yeah. Okay. Let's let's go here.
And this should be a good game. These players are about the same rating. Um,
Ah, okay.
Jacob's about he's in the 1600s, and Thad's higher rated, but it should be a good game.
Yeah, it's an interesting English battle. Um,
Yeah, I like this for black.
yeah, this is interesting. I wonder if maybe it doesn't make any difference if white were to do the intermezzo on e7 first, but okay, this pawn structure, the pawn structure in this game is theoretically white should be happier just because the pawns on the center are on dark squares. Um, and apparently will remain on dark squares.
Mm. If white was leaning towards a draw, he could have played g4 there, but Jacob probably wants to play for more.
Yes. Okay, so white is trying to open up lines on the king side.
It kind of looks
Interesting.
like me when sometimes I'm trying too hard to win and I open up files in an attempt to do so, but oftentimes I just weaken my own king. I'm not saying he's doing that, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yes. So this is funny. If you stop for a second and look at this position, um, superficially, okay, this is about even, but white white um, is better. Maybe not
Yeah,
winning, but is better.
I
And
agree.
and I think white got a little bit better with that situation because now he has two attackable weaknesses, d6 and b5. And yeah, you could make the argument that okay, he has a weak pawn on g3, but black isn't threatening to win it yet. Okay, this is
Oh,
rather radical.
I can we look at how long he spent on that move?
Three
Wow,
minutes.
3 minutes. I mean, I feel like that's a move you need to spend a lot of time. I mean, I guess I'm just stupid. I thought after queen takes g4, he was going to play queen takes b5, but of course you just play queen takes d6. Because not only
Yes.
after queen takes d6 do you have the d pawn, but then your king can escape. So yeah, maybe it's not as I was worried about a perpetual, but maybe it's more simple.
Yeah, yeah. Plays queen takes d6, and then he's banking on his d pawn, d or e pawn being faster than the h or g pawn, and the fact that his queen is in the proximity of the enemy king. So Thad declines the invitation and tries to improve his king's position. Okay, that's interesting. So after all of that, black is the one who gets to pass pawn first. So this is getting to be dicey. And then Jacob plays e5. I guess, create his own passed pawn and maybe use his queen to help defend his king. But
Oh no, yeah, I just peeked ahead. The game ends in a couple moves. This is a crazy finish.
oh no. Nice. That was a nice finish. Wow, and it actually seemed like that was on the verge of getting this thing under control um before so pawn takes. So what is the best move for black here? Because queen d6 is problematic because it allows the queen exchange.
I
Um,
wonder. Yeah, I
queen
wonder if
e7 maybe?
you said Queen E7,
Yeah.
but then we still go D6.
But then the reason why the queen check was so powerful is because you're exchanging and leaving that pawn alive,
Oh yeah, duh.
right?
So
So
Queen
if you,
E7, yeah.
yeah, so queen e7, and then if he goes here, just thank you very much. And then after this, white has to figure out if there's a perpetual or something. But he doesn't have the past d5 pawn, which is what made the other sequence winning. So yeah, so maybe queen e7 preventing queen h7, and now b4 is a possibility, and maybe maybe king h6, just getting the king into a more safe square. Also, no, g4 is not working because queen e5 is check. So yeah, queen e7 I think is the move.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree.
but Thad didn't see that, and I think he probably didn't. He probably underestimated the effect of the queen exchange. He might have thought that after queen h6, um, Jacob would play queen f7 and keep fighting from there. But yeah, this is an important note.
Outside the box.
And this guy cannot get in one move.
Looks like you're playing tic-tac-toe there, okay?
Yeah, I know. I know. I just thought about that.
It looks like the only square you didn't select was the center.
Yes. I have an aversion to the center. Um, so, so let's see. Let's look at the last game. Noah um, Stewart versus Brendan Foote. And Carl Khan, 2 knights. And I do not know the theory, but that looks like it might be normal. And oh, okay. So that's a double-edged move. Um, Only because white black has to be sure that the pawn isn't going to get trapped there after g5 at some point.
Hmm.
In fact, in this position, I wonder if Brendan could have exchanged off majors and then played g5, but then that leaves f5 weak. So maybe g5 is not as big of a threat just yet. So c4 is also a double-edged move, in my opinion. It's potentially, so it's a try to attack black's queenside pawn structure, maybe threaten to play c5, uh, but then also potentially leaves d5 permanently weak,
Yeah.
as happens in this game. And now the knight has a home on d5.
I kind of like trading rooks.
So I mean,
Yeah, I'm complimenting him.
oh, okay, okay.
I don't know. It just I don't have a great reason. It just yeah, I kind of like that trade there.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually interesting. I can't say for sure. This was I'd say it's probably unclear.
Yeah.
Maybe
Hmm.
harass. The a5 pawn is in danger. So Brendan decides to counterattack against the b2 pawn. Ah, and now the idea is if rook takes b2, then Noah gets two pieces for a rook on e7. So Brendan responds by counterattacking against the d4 pawn, and white plays bishop c3, so defending his d4 pawn, maintaining the attack on a5, but okay, it's not ready to be munched yet. And then rook b3, which appears rather ambitious. I think, okay, maybe he's threatening bishop takes a3. Maybe that's the idea. So bishop takes a3. Knight e2, kicking the rook away. And now knight e4. So this, as a result of this dance, white has somehow managed to improve the positioning of his pieces a bit. They're seeming to make some more sense.
Yeah. Mm.
And now the storm clouds are coming in. So knight f5 might work because the queen is still helping to defend f7.
It's going active though, which I don't see something necessarily wrong with it. Oh, I feel like if
This
you're
is,
white, you might need to bail out and make a draw.
yeah, white seems to be playing with fire a little bit. Because if the rooks go off the board, I think black might have a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Okay, that's dirty. It just so happens the queen has no square that it can go to maintain the attack, the defense of f7, and that's all because he had d5 removed from him by his own rook, or her own rook, as I should say. Okay, this is actually an interesting geometric point, right? So there's no good way to defend f7, And so that happens. And now Noah's in a good spot to reel in the point. And it's mate. Noah! How dare you?
I wonder, yeah. If we go back a few moves real quick, I don't know why. Well, obviously, yeah, Rook D5 was just bad, but um, couldn't he have taken on B2? Right? What move was this?
Like right
Yeah,
now?
instead of Rook D5, what if you just take on
Yeah.
B2 with the
Yeah,
knight?
I think this is legal.
And then I think, isn't it just the same line where White should just force the draw?
Yeah, I think that this is a decent way of playing it, and yeah, maybe White is forced to find a way to bail out into a draw because I can't find. Right, okay, maybe Rook here to get the C6 pawn might be a thing. Actually,
Yeah,
that could.
it's not as simple as I'm making it out to be. This is a bit tricky.
Yeah, and that might be why the knight doesn't want to leave C4 to keep D6 under control.
Yeah, good point.
And so Rook D5 is understandable. That okay, that rook is annoying. We need to get them out of there. But it just so happens that that takes away the one square the queen could have used to help protect. And the bishop on C3 is a lot better than a tall pawn, keeping the queen from getting to E1, among other things. So this is yeah, this point here. So I wonder if this was necessary then, although he still loses the next pawn, and if he exchanges off queens, it's as good as resigning. So
Yeah,
black
well,
would be
Queen
lost.
F7 is mate instead of Rook takes H7.
Yeah.
But
So
one last exercise for us. What if I'm not seeing the mate if King H6? Where's the forced mate?
so if King H6, I don't know that it's a forced mate. Here.
Obviously, White's better, but I wonder if there is a forced mate.
Let's see.
Because he could have tried this. Because moving the king to the back rank, you just get checkmated. But this, you're
Yes.
at least not getting checkmated.
Yep. So let's see. Maybe
Yeah. But then King F5 probably. Yeah, I'm not seeing the mate. Thankfully, the knight guards D2, so the bishop doesn't check.
exactly. Yeah, so maybe there's no mate here.
This I mean, this would have been obviously White's still winning, but this would have been rather comical and interesting if this would have happened.
Yes.
Because I'm not seeing the win for White. I'm not seeing the clear. Um, well, was that a forced mate there that you found?
Yeah, but I don't. But okay, if Queen E6, then G4 is winning. So yeah, maybe I don't know if this is forced though. Let's see if instead of, maybe King F5 is not the strongest. Maybe King G4 is stronger.
King G4 does allow
Because,
F5, yeah.
yeah, maybe King G4 has that as an advantage. So let's see.
Oh, and then maybe so if King G4 F3.
So King G4 and
We're just sharpening our tactical brain here.
yes. Oh, okay. This would be dirty if it works. f3. Okay, he has to come here, I think. And then after that, then king up.
We can exchange queens now, though.
True, so it's not mate. It's not a forced mate anyway. So if we play queen here, he has f5. And then we play here. And of course, if he plays here, then we have bishop here. So
Oh wait, but then now we have rook takes d4 in that line.
yeah, but if he plays rook takes d4, then you're saying there's no mate.
Yeah,
Because he
now we have
has
e5. Yeah.
e5. So
I mean,
let's see.
at and then bishop c3, but still, seeing all of this is better than getting
Yes,
mated in 3 moves.
yes. No,
So
king h6 definitely has to be played. That's the only way not to
yeah,
get mated within 3 moves or something.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But good win for Noah. He took
Good win
advantage
for
of
Noah.
the pressure on f7.
Yes. Yeah, that was a nice trick there. So, okay. I think we've gone over all the games, and we shall congratulate Nate for winning once again in the top section, and Kevin for winning in the open section. Any other announcements?
Only 2 things. One of them I'm going off the cuff, but this Saturday at the Chess Castle. It's just not a high level tournament like the Roger Hale, but it's advertised as the cool off. So if you want to cool off from
Oh,
last weekend's big tournament, you have the cool off tornado this Saturday. It's 4 rounds of game 45 plus 10-second delay. I'm planning to attend. We already have a few other people signed up. Last I checked, we had 6 people, so hopefully we get some more. But if you want to play some more chess this Saturday, check that out. And then the final
oh,
thing is, as always, this stream is sponsored by Chess Goals. It's simple chess courses for non-grand masters. You can learn these complete repertoires in under 100 lines, and you can save 30% if you use the coupon code CASTLE on any purchase at chessgoals.com. So I think that's about it. And any
cool.
last words, okay?
I don't know. Interesting games as usual. I think that I don't know. I get the feeling that the quality of play has improved over time. That I've been doing the commentary, so I think we're all growing together chessically, hopefully.
Yeah, and it'll be cool to see who can take down Nate, because
Yes.
with Connor absent and Nate kind of crushing the field right now, we'll see if someone can dethrone him next month.
So it's like King Kong left and Godzilla strolled right in, right?
Someone needs to take the mantle.
Yes.
Well, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month.
Yeah.